Today I'm proud to tell you a story. Not just any story though. This is the story of an icon. But before we get started, why won't y'all follow me on Instagram to enter yourself into a future giveaway? Now let's get started on the story. Born Eddie James Kendrick on December 17th, 1939 in Union Springs, Alabama. He will eventually move to Birmingham, Alabama, and this is where he will meet his best friend, Paul Williams. This is where he will find his talent, and Eddie and Paul will sing in a church choir. And in 1955, Eddie and Paul will form their own group along with some other friends called the Cavaliers. They will perform around Birmingham before deciding to move for better opportunities. They will end up moving to Cleveland, Ohio, East 123rd and Kinsman to be exact. They would end up meeting a man named Milton Jenkins, who was a manager. The group would move to Detroit, Michigan with Milton Jenkins and change their name to the Primes. The Primes was very successful in the Detroit area. Like, they was well known, so known that they created a spin-off group called the Primettes, later to be known as the Supremes. In 1961, the Primes will disband, and the duo of Eddie and Paul will join the forces of Al Bryant, Otis Williams, and Melvin Blue Franklin. At the time, they was called Otis Williams in the Distance, but upon the arrival of Eddie and Paul, they would change their name to the Temptations and sign a record deal to Motown. Now being a group, the Temptations would go on to sing background vocals for Mary Wells. Then, the Temptations end up becoming the hottest group of the 1960s. With Eddie Kendricks leading the group as lead singer, with his high-pitched voice, the group will go on to have successful hits like The Girl's Alright With Me, Just My Imagination, and The Way You Do the Things You Do. Some fun facts about Eddie is that his nickname is Cornbread, because that's his favorite food that he loves to eat. He was also responsible for creating the Temptations vocal arrangements and what they would wear when they would go on tour and have performances. And according to Mary Wilson, she would say her and Eddie was in a short-term relationship, but they have remained to be friends until his death. Eddie will begin having issues with Otis and Blue and started to grow apart from the group. This is where he will rekindle his friendship with David Ruffin. And for more details on David Ruffin, please go check out my video. I really think you will enjoy it. Eddie will remain a Temptation throughout the 60s to the early 70s. Eventually, David Ruffin will convince Eddie to lead a group. An interview with a television series called Urban Street, Eddie will explain that he actually thought about leaving the group back in 1965 because too many people who didn't have the group's best interest in heart was getting in the way. But the only reason why he had stayed was because he felt that if he had left when he did, he wouldn't get the support that he needed. He would also say that him and Berry Gordy didn't see eye to eye, that he only met Berry Gordy 3 times, and that Berry really didn't care for him. In 1971, Eddie Kendricks decided to go solo, and his career as being a solo artist started off slow. He will have 2 singles that will fail to reach the top 40. Meanwhile, the Temptations is still going strong. Led by their newest lead singer, Dennis Edwards, the Temptations will drop a song called Superstar, Remember How You Got Where You Are. This was one of music's very first diss records, and this was a diss towards David Ruffin, who was fired in 1968, and Eddie Kendricks, who will quit in 1971. In 1973, Eddie he would finally see some solo success with the smash hit Keep On Truckin'. This reached number 1 on the pop charts. This means that Eddie became the only Temptation to have a number 1 hit in the United States as a solo artist. In 1974, he would do it again. He would have another hit called Boogie Down. This would reach number 2 in the pop charts in the United States. In 1978, Eddie will leave Motown for lack of creative and financial control. He will eventually sign to Atlantic Records. But by this time, his popularity had decreased, and he started to realize that he's not able to sing how he used to, and this was due to his history of smoking. But in 1982, Eddie and David Ruffin will be joining the Temptations for a reunion tour and for an album. They will have a smash hit with another Motown artist, Rick James, and this hit was called Standing on the Top. Dennis Edwards, he would go on to say that Eddie was having trouble hitting a few high notes during the recording sections for the album. Eddie would go on to see a doctor, and a small drop of cancer was found in his lungs. But Eddie, he would refuse to take chemotherapy because he was fearful that he would lose his hair. After the reunion tour, Eddie would link up with David Ruffin and they would perform in nightclubs and ended up recording the album as a duo on RCA. And in 1989, Eddie and David Ruffin would link back up with the Temptations to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. There, Eddie, David, and Dennis Edwards would click up and start touring as Ruffin, Kendrick, and Edwards, all former leads of the Temptations. The tour was cut short in 1991 when Eddie was diagnosed with lung cancer and David Ruffin had passed away. In late 1991, Eddie would undergo surgery to have one of his lungs removed. He did this to prevent the spread of his cancer. Now Eddie, he would try to stay strong by touring through the summer of 1992, but he had fell ill and was hospitalized. And on October 5th, 1992, Eddie would pass away due to his cancer. His funeral services was held at First Baptist Church in Inslee, Alabama. And on October 16th and October 17th of 1992, Eddie Kendricks' friends and fans had paid tribute by having a concert dedicated to the legend of Eddie Kendricks. Bobby Womack, Chaka Khan, and Mary Wilson was a few people that had performed. He was only 52. The legacy of Eddie Kendricks will forever be remembered, and his voice will forever be heard from generations to generations. Thank you all for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. It's free. Why not do it? And here's some more videos I think you should check out.